Today's general spread. I'm recording this Christmas Eve 2025, so happy Christmas Eve. I must admit, I'm not quite tapped into I honestly think I logged out of the Christmas vibe, like the Christmas spirit, a very long time ago, but I really do deeply appreciate the collective invitation to be present in whatever way. It feels like we're all just present in a different way around holiday season, but around Christmas season, but around this time in particular, I feel more presence. I feel more of a sense of presence more than anything. So that even people who identify with the vibe I have, where it's like, oh, I don't know, Christmas spirit, we're still able to appreciate the love, the presence of family. I'm feeling into a lot of like appreciation of the present moment, of our health, of our loved ones. You know what I mean? Like very sober, kind of like old people thoughts almost. Also feeling to a lot of wisdom that's available to us, like if you really choose it, you could upgrade on incredible levels spiritually right now. Too many cards. I don't want that much, but there is one that kind of isolated itself, which is the Queen of Swords in reverse. I'd like to, before moving on, just read into that. It's interesting. So beneath the deck, we have the Queen of Discs, and then I'm seeing the High Priestess. That's a lot of feminine, powerful feminine energy. Very powerful feminine energy. So that's the opener. That's what we've got right off the bat. However, this is powerful in a little bit of a perverted way. So this card speaks of a loose cannon. Her anger and misdirected energies can engulf family, friends, and colleagues in a vicious cycle of denial, retribution, and pettiness. Ability to lie to herself and others, extremely destructive. Highly charged, pent-up energy, often armored, embittered, full of intellectual rationalizations. I'm getting the frequency of a mother losing her shit right now, just projecting and reacting very irrationally to something, to various situations. And it's because she's gifted. I didn't feel ready to even address this ever. But I've been sitting specifically with this year, during this year, with the energetic fluctuations that have been happening during the year, in line with the solar flares and all other other world influences, even astronomical astrological equinoxes, the energetic influences that can happen upon people happen especially upon those who are gifted, and sometimes pushes them into irrational behavior. This is personal observation, my opinion. No research. I wouldn't even know how to look for evidence of this. But I strongly believe that this is something that's true, that if you or someone around you, especially a feminine energy, soft, a woman, or just somebody who operates from their emotions, finds themselves fluctuating emotionally, especially during this time, it's highly likely that they're gifted. And that what the remedy is for that is, if you can even suggest it, tapping into your spirituality in whatever way, burning a candle and praying together. You maybe even praying over that person. Or if you are this feminine going through these fluctuations, pray for yourself and connect with your spirituality. Again, please bear in mind the disclaimer I keep in all of my videos that most tarot readers say without saying it, that what we offer is not in place of medical care. I really hope that if you have access to the internet, then you're aware enough of yourself to understand and know what you need. And so moving from that place, I hope you regard what you need and don't take what I have to say to heart if you know that what's actually best for you is booking a doctor's appointment, But yeah, or best for the other person rather. This is giving that it's someone else in your life who is doing this or behaving this way around you, possibly towards you. There is also, I'm feeling an identification with that last sentence, highly charged pent up energy. There's lots of that right now, especially in these last few days of 2025, but also timeless intention. And that's a lot of energy to have to change into something. It's like there's a lot of energy that's sitting, that's ready to be turned into action, but is instead being intellectualized. This may be you on a personal level as well. If you find your mind racing out of control, consider that what needs to happen is you need to connect with your spirit. Let's shuffle and see what more. Fell out very neatly, the Page of Cups and the King of Rods. So it is a very spiritual time. I'm reading for someone who's going through an incredibly spiritual time. And then the High Priestess moved closer. So I only shuffled like twice. Now it's like 3 cards away. And on top of that, you have the Page of Rods, the Page of Cups, and the Page of Rods. You have a full deck you have a full deck as well. You have all sets present. The wands, the cups, the rods, the cups. I beg your pardon. You did have the Queen of Discs beneath the deck earlier. It's giving a balance, most importantly, which I think is it helps to more just put a balm on the situation. That there is, while it may feel a little bit crazy between you and this person who is projecting, this female figure, or while this female figure may be causing things to be crazy around them, or while you may be experiencing internal craziness within yourself, there's a balance happening here. It's all very intentional, like I said, very spiritual, highly likely has to do with the fact that you yourself are a gifted person and you need to rein in your gifts by being stricter about yourself. Add a ritual. Put a ritual in your daily experiences that keeps you balanced. You're going to have to do something like that, like meditate every day, pray every day, do something every day, do something as part of your usual to gain control of all the energy you have. Now it's getting specific that you are a very powerful person. And unfortunately, your powers are being inverted in some way into anger, over rationalization, a lack of trust. It's like you're over rationalizing because you're afraid to not be a rational person. You're afraid to make an irrational decision. That feels specific. Let's see what else. This is giving a family situation where the mother is projecting and behaving irrationally. The father is, or like it's giving parents arguing and the child of that parent putting their efforts into escaping. You know the scene of like parents fighting in the other room and the child sitting under their blankets listening to music. It's something like that here, which is unfortunate, and I wish I could give more. All I see is the situation. I don't see a solve. I don't see the next steps. I just see that that's the situation. And I wouldn't know what you would do with that if you were watching it and you were going through it, or if you knew someone who was going through something like this. If you are, or if you know someone who is, if you know someone who's going through this, you should reach out to them. And you should try to be there for them, and try to be passionate about being there for them. Text them more regularly, reach out to them, make plans to see them, make plans to get them out of their home environment so that they can be away from that conflict. If you're going through it, then you should try to reach to someone else and try to let someone know about how you feel, who you trust will validate your feelings. Unfortunately, I know what this feels like to come from a home like this. And one of the most annoying things I experienced while experiencing this. Hi, Lisa. Merry Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas Eve. What I experienced when experiencing this, one of the most annoying results of this was relaying my story to people and then having people kind of almost invalidate what I was going through. or at least not understanding the severity of how it affected me. Narcissistic abuse is also what I'm getting here, and the nuances of that, and how when you go through narcissistic abuse, it's easy to some narcissistic abuse points can be so undercover that you're not sure if it's abuse or not. Be aware of that, and I think as a practical next step, research more about narcissistic tendencies that could go under the radar, as this also may be something that's present within you, right? I'm receiving as well the possibility of that, of dealing with your internal narcissistic tendencies to over-rationalize, believe too much in yourself and in your thoughts, in your pessimistic thoughts, believing too much in your pessimistic thoughts. Okay, that's also okay. That feels very specific. I may be reading for somebody who is extremely passionate about believing. It's as if they are extremely passionate about believing their darkness or the shadows, or okay, let me say rather, somebody who's extremely passionate about not believing or not having faith in not having faith, yeah. But that's a complicated one to actually, like, how would you know if you were someone who did that? It's like somebody who's addicted to being a victim. Somebody who's addicted to being a victim and they don't realize it. All they do is complain. And when you try to suggest a solution, they just go right back to complaining. They don't take your advice and they just come back to complain again. Just someone who constantly complains all the time. It's very exhausting. It's very draining energy as well. This is very draining energy, and it's even a draining frequency to hold within you. It's draining to be the kind of person who's codependent, who's toxically codependent on other people, who doesn't trust themselves, who doesn't see a solution for anything. They're just always in this loop of misery. Yeah. Exhausting being around that person, even more exhausting being that person you couldn't imagine. I think a lot of healing comes from also realizing that you could be this person at any point in your life. Like, I guess I'm receiving now the need to have some kind of compassion for, for the part of people that, sorry, I'm seeing that there's an issue with my live stream, so I just want to check what the problem is before I move on. And then, yeah, at the cost of losing what line I was on, but I also didn't plan on pulling any more cards. This reading feels very simple, and the issue itself, or the problem that this card speaks of, doesn't seem to be, it thankfully doesn't feel very doomsday. It doesn't feel like the end of the road. It doesn't feel like there's any kind of significant, like, impactful, it doesn't seem like there's any significant impact approaching. Yes. It just feels like there's a situation with somebody who is projecting, who's kind of miserable right now, likely gifted and energetically sensitive. That's why they're processing and projecting in this way. And yeah. There's nothing, I'm not receiving any kind of outward action to solve the potential conflict or the potential of conflict in a conflict. I'm feeling that, let's see, beneath the Page of Rods, we have the Six of Cups, and then we have Judgment. Okay. And then we have the Sun. Wonderful. And the King of Cups. Okay. So now with all of that, I'm receiving practical solves, practical ways forward for whatever the situation is. If you're watching this far, then some part of this resonated, if not all, whatever the situation is, whatever you took from this, I'm receiving the practical steps forward is to find gratitude in the moment. Be grateful. Just be grateful. Just do that. Put that as your daily ritual thing. Expect joy to come that has been due to you. Okay, wait. Expect joy to come from that, from the results of your spiritual work. Expect joy to come from the results of connecting to yourself spiritually, of dedicating yourself to some form of daily spiritual work. Yes, like those experiments, those experiments via social media where they show you the results of like meditating every day for 15 minutes and then they record themselves doing it. You know what I mean? And then they report back to say, yes, my focus increases, da 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 da. Something like that is coming for you. And that does feel like anticlimactic because of how, like, what can you do with focus, right? A lot of people these days, their modern wishes is like things like the material, money, a loving relationship, whatever. I don't find a lot of people wishing for like internal peace, or healing, or like the ability to manifest better or to connect with their desires so that they can manifest better. Like a lot of people are working on a 3D level, and it feels like with this reading, the invitation is like, I dare you to work on a spiritual level only, and then see how your material world will reflect that in your experiences more than anything. It feels like what may come from that is in your experiences. You may not receive more money, but you may receive an experience that costs a lot of money for free. You know what I mean? The difference between those things. Being able to be grateful for it all. Being able to be grateful for all of it. For all of it. The cup you're holding and the cups that you are leaving behind. Happily so. This is not the 8 of Cups vibe, where there's a loss of some sort. And that person in the 8 of Cups, there's no one, that person is not holding anything. The High Priestess appears again. All right, I'm going to touch that then. I'm going to read the interpretation of the High Priestess. This card is, there seems to be a joy in either situation. The background is beautiful. The plants are fertile. You just know that it's done, The jig is up. Let's get into the High Priestess and then I think close it off. This feels to be what is necessary for you right now. This is where your attention or your awareness should be in this point in time. Whatever the High Priestess has to tell us. And just stay there and don't give up on like focusing on this, and you'll see the rest of your life fall into place. Intuitive insights and wisdom, arcane knowledge and the ability to act with empathy and understanding, a new source of inspiration, can indicate that creativity, intuition, and spirituality need more emphasis in your life. Great feminine strength in either sex, for a man, his anima, muse, or soulmate. Great feminine strength. Great feminine strength, that great range of feeling. Remembering you got the King of Cups, great range of feeling. Your heart is being busted open and it's going to hurt, but it will guarantee a shitload of joy afterwards. You're being broken open so that you can feel more. You're crying more so that you can laugh more. You know what I mean? 2 major arcana cards of light. Both your major arcana cards have bodies of light in them. That's a promise. There was one sentence that jumped out to me that I felt had to do with this wounding. It's giving mother wounds, honestly. It's giving that I may be reading for specifically an Aquarius or a Gemini placement in your personal planets, Sun, Moon, Rising, or Venus, that you have either of those signs in your chart, Aquarius or Gemini, in either sidereal or tropical. Intuitive thoughts and wisdom, arcane knowledge and the ability to act with empathy and understanding. That sentence, arcane knowledge and the ability to act with empathy and understanding, has to do with that line and a reading I've done before. I will try to find it, regarding mother wounds and the transition from being your mother's daughter to being your mother's daughter to becoming your mother's mother. and being able to hold both roles with grace, because while you're your mother's mother, you're never going to not be your mother's daughter, you know? Something about that transition likely happening right now, or needing to be realized so that you can heal. Lots of healing. It's healing season. My favorite part, honestly, this is the plane that I work on. I work purely on spirit and energy. I do not do material. My material world is being so neglected right now. It's hilarious. But I know that as within, so without, and hopefully you do too, regardless of what's happening. Oh yes, and regarding that mother wound arcane knowledge, try to look at whatever feminine is like possibly acting out in your life, maybe even in you, and try to take note of how that reflects a truth about you. So if you see a mother figure, caretaker, or someone important to you, some female, feminine, important to you, behaving in a really erratic way that makes you feel uncomfortable or that offsets you in any way, consider all the ways in which you could behave that way. Even if maybe you would never actually outwardly do what they're doing, you do that to yourself in some way, or you might, and that's why you're witnessing it and experiencing it in such a personal level. Also consider how all of this is teaching you how to be more of a forgiving person, as forgiveness, I believe, opens your heart. And this is giving heart work to me, but an expansion, a total busting open of the heart space that will allow you to really feel everything so much more. Also, another energy that I read on repeat, that this work that we've been doing lately, as of maybe a few years now, but especially in my opinion in 2025, has been hard work. And very cool that the sun appears, because that is also the card that was beneath the deck in my 2025 like predictions reading, which I will also link, but I mean we're at the end of it. But just for interest's sake, I do think that reading, I mean, it was fairly accurate, if I do say so myself, considering everything that played out and the American collective going through what they're realizing about their government body. It's, yeah. Shout out to the cards, actually, not just to me, to the cards and to the divine, and to the purpose. Anyway, I think I've served my purpose. I think this reading has done its thing. I'm so grateful for everybody who tunes in. Thank you so much. All my love to you on this journey. Please trust yourself. This is really a brilliant phase to do that outside of your reading. The time I'm doing this, and in general from here on out, from 2025 into the future, in my opinion, it's going to be really ideal for you to learn how to trust yourself and to get it right this time, to really get it right. So I hope you can tap into that and to the hope of everything that's available through all of our stories.